Hi, I'm Alan West, and welcome to Next Generation TV. And I'm joined as we continue our coverage here at CPAC 2013, the 40th anniversary, by Senator Rick Santorum, a former presidential candidate and a dear friend of mine. Senator, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on the show.
So, how's the family and how's Bella doing?
Well, thank you for asking. Everybody is doing exceptionally well. We've had a great winter. I know it's been a tough winter for a lot of people with cold and flu season, but we've been very blessed in our family.
Well, fantastic. Well, you know, I'm with PJ Media now, working on this Next Generation initiative so that we can get our message out through the internet to the young people, because it's so important we get that conservative message to them and really get them educated on the issue. So tell us, what is Senator Rick Santorum doing now?
Well, right after the presidential campaign, Karen and I sort of took a little step back and thought, well, what are we going to do going forward? And, you know, I went out, as you know, I said this election was the most important election of our lifetime, and that big things were at stake in our country, that we were at a sort of a transformational inflection point in American history. And you know that. You said that.
Absolutely.
And I thought, well, gee, just because I'm not on the ballot doesn't mean I shouldn't stay out there and stay active and involved. So we decided to form an organization called Patriot Voices to go out and represent the values that made our country great. It's based on first principles of our founders, and those were the things that built the greatest country in the history of the world. And just because the culture may not see them as important or want to change the way that America should be, doesn't mean that we should deny the truth and do likewise.
You know, that's an important thing, because we have to win that cultural battle, and we have to win that image battle, because I believe the principles that we stand for, you talk about the theme of CPAC, new challenges, but really timeless principles. You know, how do we make sure that we can get that message out to this country now and within the parameters of this culture?
Well, I mean, you're obviously doing your share here. You know, I'm doing my part. I know you do some speaking. I try to do a lot of speaking on college campuses. I try to get around and speak to anybody who'll listen, and do the traditional media, radio and TV. But also, I spend a lot of time with bloggers, and just any way that you can get your message out in a way that hopefully can be compelling. That's why I came to CPAC today. I mean, I sort of was ambivalent in coming here, given some of the personal things I was going through the last few days. But I just felt compelled. This is an opportunity to get the message out and have folks like you and others cover it, and took advantage of it.
And it's a great energy here, and I think half of the attendees are 25 years and
a lot of young folks.
That's an incredible thing. And you know, there are three pillars to this conservative movement: the fiscal conservatism, the national security foreign policy stance, and then the social conservatism. There are some people that say social conservatism is no longer relevant. I believe that it has to be, and I believe that you can make all three of those pillars fit. How do we make sure that we don't fall asunder to the folks that want to read the New York Times or the Washington Post or the mainstream media and tell us that we need to abandon that? You
can't have limited government without a strong social fabric. It doesn't work. If the family is broken down, if there is no right and wrong, if there is no virtue, if there are no moral standards, how does democracy work? I mean, it becomes chaos. It becomes every man for himself, and it is, in many respects, what caused the demise of many a country. A collapse, a moral collapse from within. Every great empire, you know, whether it was the Roman Empire, where they bought people off with bread and circuses,
and
the Colosseum, or whether it was the Soviet Empire that tried to suppress God and suppress freedom and say we can take care of all your needs from the government.
And
they die from within.
That's an interesting point, because when I saw that thing that happened at the Democrat National Convention, where they had to try to reinsert God into the platform, if people
it lost,
and if people understand our declaration, it says our inalienable rights come from a creator. And that's so important, because if people don't believe they come from a creator, if people believe your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, or as John Locke said, property, come from man, and man forms government, then they can be taken away.
That's exactly right. And, I always say, I said in my speech today, that the real choice that we have is between what revolution we want to be the descendants of. the American Revolution was a revolution that was centered about religious liberty and the idea that we are all creatures of a loving God, and that God gives us rights, and that we use those rights, life, liberty, to pursue happiness.
That's right.
You know what that means? I had a pastor in Sioux City, Iowa, tell me and showed me what the pursuit of happiness really meant by our founders, because the definition of happiness at the time of the founders was to do God's will.
Sure.
Because that's what truly makes you happy. If you do things that you ought to do, that you should do, that you were ordained to do by God, that's how you become really happy. And that's what our founders understood it to be. And so here we have a country with God-given rights to do what? Pursue God's will. That's a moral enterprise. The French Revolution was a godless, secular, anti-clerical revolution that said no, that rights don't come from God. There is no God. Rights come from not the king, because the king is a bad guy. It comes from us, the mob.
The mob. And look how Robespierre...
The guillotine and Bonaparte.
Absolutely.
And Europe is a descendant of that revolution. That's why it's a, by and large, godless continent.
Sure.
That's why it's a dying continent, because they have given up on what they never adopted what America has. But that's what Obama wants to turn us into.
And it's so important that we recognize that we're not talking about an established religion in America. We're talking about honoring a Judeo-Christian faith heritage. And
religious pluralism, which means not even Judeo-Christian. The heritage is Judeo-Christian.
Yeah.
But we are very pluralistic, and we encourage people of faith and no faith to be in the public square, to practice their faith or not practice their faith.
Sure.
But we have a government right now is suppressing faith, that is moving this country more toward a
secular state, secular humanism.
The God being the government, the God being those in power, as opposed to the real God.
The individual and that connection of the individual. You know, that's so important, because when you think about Martin Luther and what he did, he established that individual relationship. That was really the beginning of individual freedom, when you talk about the individual can have that relationship to his creator.
It's very interesting, because at the time the Catholic Church, I'm Catholic, and the time the Catholic Church had some problems, and there were serious concerns that Martin Luther had some very legitimate points against. It's interesting now that the Catholic Church has taken the position now of being religious, in favor of religious pluralism, in favor of freedom of conscience. And so, that transformation within the church is very, very important, and I think is something that maybe President Obama and the left should take a look at.
Absolutely right. Now, I get asked this question all the time, so now I get to ask you this question.
Are you running?
You see, I run every morning about 5 or 6 miles.
I don't. You're in better shape than I am.
So what is in the future for Senator Rick Santorum?
Right now I'm just trying to provide for my family, and we went almost a year and a half without an income. That was a hard thing for me to do, running for president, particularly when you have 7 kids and 3 in college.
Absolutely.
So we had to replenish the coffers and stabilize our family, and I can't go out and talk about a responsible fiscal policy if you don't have responsible fiscal policy in your own family.
That's right.
So that's what I'm focused on right now. And obviously, we're out talking and doing our part to try to advance the principles that I think made our country great. And we'll wait and see. I mean, 2016 is a long time away, but I'm certainly open to it. We have a good organization called Patriot Voices that hopes to have an impact politically in this country, and be great if people join.
Well, the thing that I appreciate about you so much is that you're a principled man that will make the stand. And you make the stand. Leadership is about courage, conviction, character, and commitment. And you've done that. You've shown that. And we appreciate that in you.
Back at you.
Back at you. Thank you so much.
And
thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts and perspectives.
That's a handshake, my friend, right there.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us on Next Generation TV with our CPAC coverage, and continue to tune in. This is Alan West along with Senator Rick Santorum. Thanks for watching.